Hey guys, Tez here and welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be talking about my path to pharmacy and what I've done and where I am now, just to give you a bit of an overview of how I got to where I am. So before we get started, don't forget to comment, like and share this video and subscribe if you haven't already. So when I was younger and people used to ask me what do you want to be when you grow up, I used to say mum, because I love babies, so the idea of just taking care of children all the time seemed like a dream to me. The only thing is that I don't like kids or teenagers, I just like babies. So I decided to become a scientist so that I could create a drug that would keep babies as babies. And it's funny because I watched this anime called One Piece and there's a guy there who's trying to do the same thing. But anyway, highly unethical and I wouldn't recommend it. But I was a bit undecided about what I wanted to do, so I decided to pick neurosciences at uni. The only reason I picked that was because I didn't want to move out for uni. I wanted to stay local. So I picked that, and I think you get your firm choice and your backup choice. I think I picked maybe like biochemistry or something at a different uni, which was in Bradford. So when results came and I got into neurosciences, my mum was like, so what can you do with this degree after you finished, because you're going to uni, so what is the point, like what's the end goal, like what can you do, can you get a job straight away, do you have to do more work? And then I had no idea, to be honest, because I just picked it, and when I was looking I realised that I would probably have to do more work, either more research, because it's not a vocational degree. It's not a guarantee that you'll get a job after, so you really have to be highly motivated, or you have to have some sort of plan as to what it is that you want to do after, which I didn't have, and I'm so lazy. So at the last minute I decided to go with my backup option for the uni, so that was University of Bradford, which is the city next to where I live in Leeds. But instead of doing biochemistry, I asked them if I could switch to pharmacy, because they had a pharmacy course there and I'd seen that pharmacy was in clearing, so I thought, well, if they have it in clearing then surely I can just change my option. I mean, they're getting money either way, so why do they care? So I switched and I ended up doing pharmacy. So that's how I sort of got into pharmacy. It wasn't that I always dreamt about being a legal drug dealer, it just happened on me. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with the way Bradford does things, but they run two courses at the same time. So they do the 4-year course, which is the normal 4 years of uni, then pre-reg, then the exam, and they do the split course, which is 5 years, and you do 2 lots of pre-reg during that time. So when I initially enrolled onto the course, I was on the 4-year programme because I didn't even know what the 5-year programme was. I didn't even know what pre-reg was. I was very unprepared. And as the year went on, they gave us the option to switch. So you could switch from the 4 to the 5 year, or from the 5 to the 4 year. You could do that at the end of first year or at the end of second year, but after that you were stuck to whatever it is that you picked. So when I heard about the split option, I thought, hey, that sounds like a good idea, because I have no idea what kind of pharmacist I want to be. Like 2 years ago I didn't even know that I wanted to be a pharmacist. So I decided to switch onto the 5-year course, which meant that I got to do 2 split placements. I think they've changed it now, but when I did it, you did the first 6 months after 3 years of uni. So you would do year 1, year 2, year 3, then you would do 6 months of placement, so from July till January, and then from January until the following January you would go back to uni to do your final year, which is the 4th year, and then you would do another 6 months placement. But that second 6 months at the end is when you did your pre-reg exam, so you were basically at the same stage as the people you started first year with. So my uni, like most unis I think, they used to offer us 2 days of community placement and 1 day, sometimes even half a day, of hospital placement every year. I don't even remember where I went for the first hospital placement or for the community, to be honest, But I remember I did the community one first and I found it really dry. I think as well because you're only there for 2 days, so they really can't be bothered teaching you anything because it's a waste of their time. So unless you already work in a pharmacy and you have pharmacy skills, you're just there to watch really, and I found it very boring. And then I was looking at the pharmacist and I don't know, I suppose he wasn't the best example, but he didn't seem like he was having a good time either. And then when I went to hospital for the half day, it was so much more engaging. Like in the half day, that pharmacist went through so much. Like we went to the ward, she talked me through all the patients, and then she also told me like the lots of other different things that she did. So I think she used to do a clinic as well. So I just said to myself, I need to be that. Like this is where I want to be when I finish this degree. I want to be working in hospital. So after first year, I went to the community pharmacy near my house and I just asked them if they wanted a student to help, like voluntary work, because nobody's trying to pay a first year pharmacy student who doesn't know anything. I did that for 4 weeks so I could have something on my CV. And then second year we had the same 2 days and a day, and then during my second year I applied for the Boots placement. I think it was a 2 weeks placement. If you were in second year it was 2 weeks, and then if you were in third year it was 4 weeks, something like that. But at the end of second year I did that placement, and after that I got a job. They didn't give me the job, I still had to apply, but because I knew a job was coming and because I knew the kind of person that they wanted, I was successful in that job. So I got a job as a counter assistant. So I did the counter assistant course whilst I was going to uni during my third year. During my third year, that's when we applied for the first set of placements. The way that Bradford does it, you get the chance to go to hospital or community. A lot of people go for that option because they want to work in hospital and community, because if you just wanted to work in one, you would just wait until you finish the 4 years and then just pick the one you wanted. And a lot of people were saying mixed things about doing hospital first, because they said, oh, by the time you apply you'll have forgotten what you've learnt, the trust will forget who you are, yada yada yada, da da da, whatever. I was like, do you know what, like I'm just going to apply, because the worst that can happen is I don't get in and then I have another chance later. Whereas if I leave it now and then I don't get in later, I'll always regret not applying before. So you had to pick between Leeds or Bradford Hospital. Those were the two main ones, so you couldn't apply to both. I guess because they're teaching hospitals, so it's not really fair for you to interview for both and then get offered a place in both, because then that's someone else who's missing an opportunity. So I had to pick either Leeds or Bradford, and then you could pick the rest of them in whatever way you wanted, and the rest are the ones in Yorkshire and the Humber region, so I guess like whole Sheffield. I don't know why you couldn't pick Leeds, Bradford or Sheffield, to be honest, because Sheffield is really good, but yeah, that's how they did it anyway. So I remember I had an interview at Leeds, and after the interview it was the student lock-in. I don't know if you guys remember those. So in September time the shopping centres would have like a student lock-in where they would have 50% off, 60% off all these clothes, so that you could spend all your student finance money basically in their shops, and then you're broke for the rest of the term. But yeah, I remember after the interview was student lock-in, and then we went to Trinity, which is the shopping centre in Leeds, and then I remember talking with my friends and I was like, oh, I'm so nervous, like I don't know if I did well. And then this girl was like, oh, she cried because the interview was so emotional, and I was like, oh wow, that's me out then, because this girl's so passionate, she's crying. And I was just there like, you're right. I remember hearing back saying I got the PreReg when I was working at the Boots, and I remember thinking yes, 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 yes. I was so happy because it meant that I sort of had my foot in the door. After third year then I quit my job in Boots, and then I started the PreReg at Leeds, and then after that I applied for a pharmacy support worker on a bank contract, which meant that I used to pick up odd shifts at the hospital when they needed somebody. And so after PreReg finished the first half, I went back to uni for fourth year. So when you go back to uni for fourth year, it's really weird, because during the first 6 months the people who are on the 4-year course are learning, and then you're with them during the second 6 months. But you could tell the difference between the people who spend 6 months working and the people who've spent 6 months at uni. Like the people who've been working for 6 months are more on it. They know what it's like in the real world. They're there to learn. Like, you have a purpose, you've seen what's out there, you're ready for it, and you just want to get your degree and be done and get out. Whereas I felt like the people who hadn't been out for 6 months still had that uni mentality. Like, they wouldn't really pay attention, they'll just be talking, and I remember just thinking these people are so immature, and I felt like it's because they don't know what it's like in the real world. Like, I was being very judgy, shall we say, which is not good. The only reason I was in that situation is because I'd been exposed to something they hadn't, so it was really unfair of me to expect them to act a certain way when they hadn't been at work for 6 months. So I went back to uni, and then 6 months in we had to apply for the other job to go to the second placement. Now, because I'd already done hospital, I wasn't allowed to apply to hospital again, so I had to apply to a community pharmacy, and I chose to apply to Boots because I felt that I would probably get more support, more study days, and the program would be a bit more structured, I suppose, than potentially an independent pharmacy. So before I started the Boots PreReg, I had to apply for a job after PreReg because the jobs in hospital come out as early as November, December. And I remember I was super stressed because the job for Leeds came out in December, and I hadn't written an application yet, and I had exams. So I had final exams for uni, and then I had the application to write as well. So I remember it was a very stressful time for me, but luckily had the interview, passed. So I did my pre-reg, and then I remember I had to book a day off to go back to uni to graduate because my graduation was during my pre-reg. So I had to have been signed off at the 39-week review to graduate. So that was the other thing. If I hadn't been signed off, I wouldn't have been able to graduate because as part of my course I need to have passed that bit of pre-reg. So it is a bit tricky. I mean, I suppose you don't expect to fail, but that was something I wasn't aware of. Luckily it wasn't an issue, and obviously I'm here now, so clearly I'm that good, and that's on punto basta.
Punto basta.
And then I sat the exam with the people I'd started first year with, which, by the way, the email is such an anticlimax because they just sent you an email saying on this attempt you've been successful or whatever, and then they send you the grades. I'm like, yeah, but where's the roses and that? Like, where's the champagne? Where's the prosecco? Where is it all? Like, oh right, I guess that's me, a pharmacist. And then I got the job that I'm at now, which is a foundation job. I think different trusts call the job different things, but it's basically where you work as a band 6 pharmacist and you do the diploma as well. So that's where I am now, but I'm hoping to finish the diploma in the near future, and we'll start applying for band 7 jobs. So hopefully I get one that I like, and hopefully it makes me happy, and hopefully I can start my specialist training. But yeah, that is my path to pharmacy. Sorry this video is a bit rambly, but a few people have been asking me in my DMs like how I got to where I am, so I thought I'd share that with you. Oh, also I forgot, when I applied for the when I applied for the Boots job, I also applied to do the pharmacy work experience at Leeds Teaching Hospitals, where I work now, and I got rejected to do the placement. I think the issue was I didn't hand in the application form, I handed in my CV because I misunderstood what they were asking for, but apparently there was an application form that I should have asked for and I didn't. I just sent my CV and I didn't get it. So yeah, don't be disheartened, guys. And also, while I was working at Boots, I tried to apply for a band 3 job at the hospital, and I had an interview and everything because they were looking for pharmacy students over Christmas, and I got rejected. So I have been rejected a few times, guys. I've not always been this good, but it's okay. I am now, and that's all that matters. And that's on punto basta. Punto basta. Moving on to the book of the video, which is Half of a Yellow Sun by Chimamanda. I think you guys know by now that I really like Chimamanda, and I find her books very immersive, shall I say. I think there's a film about this, but this book is really good. I like how Chimamanda's endings are not always happy in the way that you want them to be. Like, just because you will it to happen doesn't mean it always happens that way. So the book focuses on regular people's lives that are affected by the Nigerian Civil War and how they navigate through that, I guess. I think because I've eaten too much because it's Christmas today and I can't really think, so I'm really struggling to think about the good points about this book, but it is a really good book and I do recommend it. So if you want to check that out, then please do. Anyways, let me know in the comments if you have any questions or if you have any video suggestions. Tap that like button so the video reaches more people. Subscribe if you haven't already, and until next time, bye for now.